Tim Tetrick, I want to welcome you to this interview and thank you so much for your participation. You're one of the leading drivers literally in the world. You're one of the younger guys, although you're sort of, I would say, mid-career. So there's a lot of territory for you to make up yet still. You're looking to be one of the best drivers in the history of the sport, and you've got every opportunity to make that happen. So first of all, I want to welcome you to my show and thank you for participating.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. Thanks for thinking about having me on there.
But the U.S. Harness Writers Association placed you in their Hall of Fame in 2020. In 1998, you started driving standardbreds for your dad following the Illinois County Fair Circuit, which I appreciate. I'm a veterinary graduate of the University of Illinois, and the Midwest is just a wonderful place to learn these values. Your first win was in July of that year, 1998, and since then it's been sort of a rocket moving forward. You're obviously a very focused, serious type of driver to have done what you did. In 2004 and 2005, you captured the driving titles while on the Chicago circuit. You set a new single season record of 1,189 wins and $18 million plus in purses in 2007. And then you beat your own record in 2008, where you went over close to $20 million in purses. I just checked your stats quickly. In your 9 years of being rated #1 in purses, that was out of 24 professional years. So about 25% of your driving career, you've been rated #1. You're rated #3 right now in all-time driving earnings of just shy of $238 million in just over 12,400 wins. My throat's getting a little sore with all these accomplishments, my friend, but
no, keep going. It sounds really good.
Yeah. I wish I was inducting you into something special other than my show, but it's amazing. You've won 20 Breeders' Cup races, 3 U.S. Pacing Triple Crown races, 1 U.S. Trotting Triple Crown race that was a Hambo in 2012 with market share, and 36 other major races. Thoroughbred jockeys, which many of my fans recognize more than a standardbred driver, they wear the colors of their owners. You wear your own colors. That's typical of standardbred guys, standardbred drivers. Your colors are green and gold. That picks you out in the crowd when you're there. And you also have bright yellow wheels on your sulky, and I'm told that you can't be missed when you're on the track. You're married to what appears to be a superstar woman who is just as motivated as you. You got a daughter. She's a barrel racer. She's a state director of barrel racing, I think, in Jersey.
Yeah.
She seems to be a social media guru. And she's been a tremendous advocate of the standardbred industry. So as a couple, you guys have really contributed a lot. Coming up this Friday night, the 2-year-olds will be racing at the Meadowlands. You'll be driving some of them. That starts at 6:15. And as per later on, I'll give my audience ideas of how to follow that. And also on Saturday, the older horses, 3-year-olds and up, will be racing in the afternoon, starting at 12 noon, and you'll be in there. In your years of driving, do you have a best memory horse favorite, one that stands out to you and you say, oh my God, I was so fortunate to get this horse? It could be anything from the past or current.
Right off the top of my head, getting to win the Hamiltonian was, a dream come true, and did it with kind of an undernamed horse, market share. He ended up making $3 million, which was great. I got to ride on just a couple years ago was a horse called Sharton Inn. She come from New Zealand. We shipped her over here, and I think she won 90% of her races and broke world records and track records, and actually was the first female ever to be horse pacer of the year that year, and was horse of the year, and that was pretty special.
In the standardbred world, we have 2 gates. We have trotters and pacers, and so they're separated in different classes and they're separated by years. But the interesting part is that all the standardbreds race at 1 mile. And that 1 mile distance really is what was the original qualification to be considered a standardbred. It's the standard, racing standard. And timing is so important, whereas many times in other races like the flats or thoroughbreds, they go different distances and there's different qualifications. So you're racing in multiple races, both Friday and Saturday, which will involve pacers, younger horses, older horses, mature horses, and each one of them basically is racing the same 1 mile for a different time. And that time not only determines winning the race, but it determines also where you stand in the course of history. And sometimes later on, not always the highest winning horse becomes the best breeding stock, either stallion or mare. So it's cumulative. All the things, all the little honors that you accumulate in these horses like that horse you mentioned, the Chardonnay, they go further along in the line, and they could even help the stallion that produced him, or the mare that produced him. I think the horse that you're sitting on right now that appears to have the most worldly potential or interest is Lion Sentinel.
She's a mare that I've actually driven since she first started racing in the baby races, and I've been with her whole career so far. Now that she's turned 4, she was a champion 2-year-old. She made $1 million at 2. Last year she competed at the highest level, but ran into a horse called Pretty Girl Hill, which was an awesome horse. And then this year at 4, she's pretty much dominated her class. And right now in our rankings, she's in the top 10 poll. She's ranked number 1. If she could win out the rest of the year, there's a shot that she could become horse of the year, which would be a very special feat, especially for a mare.
It's interesting. You had an elimination round this past Saturday, and Lion Sentinel went up against Rocknificent, which, interestingly enough, both of them are Captain Treacherous sired mares. And without getting too heavily in the breeding end, Captain Treacherous is an up and coming younger stallion, and he's by another stallion, Some Beach Somewhere, who unfortunately passed away, but was leading the sire ranks as a breeding stallion. It was also a tremendous racehorse in his own. You'll come up against Rocknificent again, and they're both Captain Treacherous sired horses out of the same family line. I'm sure that you've got some compliments to pay to that family line.
No doubt, because I was actually the driver of Captain Treacherous his whole career, and he was an amazing horse on the track, and he's done a great job in the breeding shed. So I'm super proud of him that way. And he's a special horse to me. He won the Meadowlands Pace. He won a lot of the major races that we have, and he was a tough as nails horse. You put him on the lead and made him come get him, and he was a tough horse. And I'm glad to see that his prodigy is doing so well.
As you already mentioned, the Hamiltonian Society and the Breeders' Crown, I guess, committee, they do a poll, and right now your horse is leading. It's number 1 in acclimates for being potentially horse of the year. Like you said, it would be interesting if you keep going that way. Many of these horses, not all of them, but many that you've driven have been trained by the same trainer, Kim King Jr. And the ones that I'm picking up that have the Lions incorporated in their name are all 3 Lions Racing out of Canada, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yep. Yeah, the Lions guys out of Canada, and they own them, and they picked Jimmy to train a couple years ago. Now, Sharton was not owned by the Lions guys, but Lion Sentinel, and they like to put their Lions name in their names.
Right now, your horse, Lion Sentinel, has the world record. Am I wrong?
For a 5/8 track, yeah.
Or a 5/8 track, yeah. So that's cool. This interview is about you, not me, but it's interesting. I had one amazing experience in 2008 working for Lomagino Standardbreds. They and the Antonaccis have been good friends of mine, won more races than I think anyone else, more career races. But we had this horse, Happy Dreamer, in 2008, and she tied the world record, 149-2. And the crowd just went wild. They just couldn't believe it. That is such an honor to get a horse like that. So I had to get that little bit of an applause in for those 2 families. They're great people. Tell me also, you're going to be driving a younger horse, Lions Serenity. So obviously that is probably the same owners.
I have driven her all year. She's actually took a bye in the 2-year-old Breeders' Crown race. I'm actually not going to drive her. I'm going to drive a Treacherous Dragon for Brett Pelling. She had the 10-0 last week, but finished a very good 5th in her elimination. And I just feel like she's the best one going forward for me to try to win that Breeders' Crown.
The jockeys, many of whom I know personally, they have agents. Do you have an agent, or do you do all the decisions and all the bookings yourself?
We have no agents at all. I have my people that I call, and I throw it off the wall at them to them and see what they think. But mainly I just do it all myself, my own homework. I try to do it mostly myself.
Well, that's one thing we have in common. Everything you see with all my videos, I did everything myself. I'm not thrilled about it. I'd like to have a hand, but it's interesting how the 2 sports, they're very similar in some ways and very different in other ways. Do you see any other special matchups, either that you're in or that you think the audience would be wanting to pay attention to, and the reasoning this is your sport? Do you see any other special matchups coming in there that we should be paying attention to?
I think there's some very talented horses out there right now, and the speed is really crazy right now, and some of these horses are really going fast. The 2-year-old trotters, I think there's 3 or 4 of those that can step up and win. There's 3 or 4 like really coming into form very well. In the age pace division, the son of captain, he's just been dominating the age ranks lately, and he's only a 4-year-old as well, and he's been dominating, and he's been really sharp. But up and down the whole field, there's going to be a lot of good races, a lot of competitive races, and it's always funny on Breeders' Crown nights. Weird things usually happen, and last year in the Hoosier Park, they had the Breeders' Crown. They had a horse pay $500. He was like 400 to 1 or 300 to 1 in the Breeders' Crown final. And it was a 3-year-old Colts, and he actually won and paid like $400 or $500 he paid.
Well, I noticed that in the 2-year-old races, I've got to root for some of the Lindy's Farm Antonacci horses. I guess it's raised by Lindy or branded by Lindy. They either own
he's
them.
He's very sharp. The 2-year-old, he's done nothing wrong this year, and he's really looked very impressive. And on paper, he's definitely the one to beat right now. But there's a couple in there that are shadowing, and that if something would go right for some of them other horses, they definitely could step up and win.
Well, you know better than anyone that some horses just seem to wake up and have a super day, and some days they come out and they just don't feel like racing. But
right, they're not machines. As much as we think they are, they're not machines. They wake up and have bad days as well. So, and there's a lot of variables there. You can get sick and hurt their leg or hurt their, even their just ego getting on the trailer and going to the racetrack. So there's a lot of variables there.
Without asking you for some of your own personal trade secrets that I'm sure it took years to develop, but are there any special things that you do? Because you seem to get a lot of performance out of these horses. There's some other drivers that are, I would say, equally talented, but you seem to make the best picks for you, and you seem to get the most out of each one of the horses. Sometimes it might be a little more difficult driving a fellow's horse or a trainer's horse, as women too, that you're cold, you don't really know the horse very well, and there's others that you've driven for quite a while and you get to know them. Is there anything that you look for, any little tidbits that you could throw out there?
One thing I've tried to learn by, my dad taught me this at a very young age. He always told me, he said, drive the horse first and the race second. Even if the horse, just drive the horse first. Sometimes you got to give up a length or two in the beginning of the race because your horse doesn't like to lead. And, if you drive your horse to best your ability and give him his best shot, he's going to usually perform for you. And sometimes it might only be a second or a third, but going forward, sometimes that horse is better for that. Always trying to win, but sometimes horses just can't win. And if you try too hard, it just hurts them, and then you don't have enough horse for the following week.
Well, again, comparing to some of the jockeys who I know, the best ones are the ones that sort of are one with the horse. They learn to go with the movement of the horse. And I think you're saying something similar from a driver's perspective.
Yeah, just drive the horse first and the race second. And, you still have to handicap the race and be in the best position that you can be. But sometimes second over or third over is better than being in the 3-hole or whatever. And trying to give that horse his best opportunity to do the best he can.
Well, my final question for you, and I will probably mispronounce this word, but one of the other drivers and also trainer, Oak Svenstad, has pulled the shoes on Ambassador Hanover, and he got great performance out of it. And he says he's going to pull them on all the horses. You have any comments on that theory? It's back to natural.
He's a great trainer. He's a great trainer, and he does it a lot to his horses, especially his 3-year-olds. And he makes them go fast. And when he does pull his shoes, he takes all the boots off of them, and it's about as natural as you can get a horse to be. But his horses are great gaited, and he's got them in tip-top shape when they come into those big races. So, he's good at it. And it works for him. A lot of guys can't do it, and he comes from Sweden, and they do that a lot over there. And our tracks here are getting better. And, on the big days, if it rains, I'm sure he will not pull the shoes. But if the track's good, he always does pull the shoes.
Well, Tim, our time has flown by, believe it or not. And I greatly appreciate all your words of wisdom. And you're the man. And, I'm rooting for you. And I hope that you keep producing so that one day that we could interview you like we did John Campbell, and you're sitting completely on top, but you got a lot of competition. That's what every driver wants to do. That's what every jockey wants to do. They want to be their best. So we wish you a safe and successful meet, and I will put the information for my audience to follow you this coming weekend. It should be amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. Thanks for having me on the show.